In this lecture, we're going to explore another data type called strings. Strings are the data type for storing text. Sounds like a strange name. Why would developers call it a string? Text is a combination of multiple characters that are strung together, hence the name string. It's a weird naming convention, but that's what the community has settled on. Regardless, if you're working with text, the data type is considered to be a string. Let's try creating a string. For the data variable, let's replace the existing value with the following value, John. Text must be wrapped with quotes. Single quotes and double quotes are completely valid. In this example, I'm using single quotes. For demonstration purposes, I'll use double quotes for a different variable. Below, create another variable called last name with a value of Smith. This time, I'm using double quotes. Inside the quotes, we're allowed to write anything we'd like. Blog posts, product names, addresses, or anything represented as text can be stored in a string. It's important to note that code inside a string won't be executed. For example, inside the data variable's value, let's call the variable dump function. As you can see, the contents of the value do not get executed. PHP does not run the variable dump function from within the string. It's interpreted as plain text. If we shift our focus to the data type, it's been recognized as a string. Looking closely at the output, PHP has taken the time to count the number of characters from within the string. Overall, strings are simple to create. As long as you're wrapping text with quotes, you're good to go. The question is, what's the difference between single quotes and double quotes? Most developers prefer single quotes for readability. There's less clutter. However, double quotes offer one advantage over single quotes. PHP supports string interpolation. I know that looks like a scary, complicated word, but I promise it's not. String interpolation is the process of replacing a placeholder with a value. It's as simple as that. For example, let's say we had the following sentence. Hello, my name is X. The letter X is a placeholder. We can swap this placeholder with an actual value. String interpolation is a common feature you'll be using in your programs. This feature is only available with strings that are wrapped with double quotes. Inside the last name variable, let's inject the data variable by adding it at the beginning of the string. We're allowed to inject variables into a string. PHP replaces this portion of the string with the value stored in the data variable. Before testing our work, let's remove the variable dump function from the data variable. Next, update the variable dump function to output the last name variable. The entire name has been rendered in the preview. String interpolation is a simple yet handy feature. There's one thing I should mention. In some cases, you may want to append text immediately after a variable. For example, in the last name variable, I'll add the trademark symbol after the data variable. Adding this symbol produces an error. The reason is simple. PHP assumes that the trademark symbol is part of the variable name. It'll attempt to search for a variable with this name, which doesn't exist. So, how do we output the variable while keeping the symbol? We can wrap the variable with curly brackets like so. Curly brackets are optional. However, if they're added, PHP ignores text written outside of it. You don't have to worry about the curly brackets appearing within the string. PHP removes them during output. In the output, the full name gets outputted. Perfect. There's one more thing I want to show you before ending the lecture. So far, we've been rendering the entire string. In some cases, you may want to output a specific character. It turns out that PHP allows us to access specific characters from a string. In the variable dump function, let's add a pair of square brackets. If we're dealing with a string, we can access a specific character by adding these brackets. Within these brackets, we must add a number. Behind the scenes, PHP indexes our string. It'll assign a number to each character. The The first character is assigned an index of 0. The second character is assigned an index of 1, so on and so forth. As an exercise, what number do you think is assigned to the fourth character? I'll give you a moment to think about this. The answer is 3. Let's try testing our theory. In the square brackets, type the number 3. Cool. As you can see, the fourth character gets outputted. It might seem strange. Programming languages commonly count at 0 instead of 1. It's a strange habit you'll have to get used to. Don't worry. As we progress through the course, counting from 0 will become natural. We're not limited to accessing a character. We can also update a specific character from a string. Above the variable dump function, let's set the last name 3 variable to x. Once again, I'm using the square bracket syntax. This time, we're directly updating this character. PHP won't update the entire string. The fourth character has been changed to x. There's one thing worth highlighting. We're updating the character before running the function. The order of our code does matter. PHP executes code from top to bottom. If we updated the character after calling the variable dump function, the function would output the original value of the string. Not taking the time to arrange your code can result in unexpected behavior. I think it's time for an exercise. In the next lecture, let's tackle an exercise to reinforce what we've learned about data types.